Hello, good afternoon. We'll go ahead and get started. We have to be out of here by 15:50. Usually this class runs about 6 hours. I'm going to try and make it go a little faster. So I'm Roger Kramer. I can get it to 5.5. Hello, I'm Roger Kramer. I spent 5 years in the Coast Guard and 4 different ships and then a small boat station. I got out, went in reserves, was called up for Desert Storm, and I was over in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia for 6 months with a port security unit. And got out. After I got back, I got really sick. Wasn't able to continue on with the reserves, but I had joined an auxiliary unit, and unfortunately it folded. And then getting busy on the civilian side, I wasn't able to follow through. But when I retired from Honda after 31 years, I thought I'd get back into the auxiliary. So at the end of my career, I was doing a lot of training, but also I was a process engineer. So I like to do a lot of visual management. So with the class today, we're going over the leadership competencies, but I'm also going to give you some other tools you can use within your flotillas to help drive interest in the training side of it. So I have a really interesting little test here I want to give you guys. So in AMLOC, we went over a personality type test. So everybody thinks that I'm an extrovert. I actually found out that I'm an introvert from this test.
I'm the opposite. I'm an introvert, and everybody thinks I'm an extrovert, at least at work.
Yeah. I got some pens up here I can give you if you don't have a pen. So on here you have questions. Oh, need another pen, sorry.
I got you.
Okay, did you want to take this? So you have a series of questions. So you'll pick one or the other to answer the question. It's a personality assessment.
Dating profile.
32. So there's 32 questions.
We're supposed to go ahead and start?
Yeah, go ahead and start picking circling one or the other.
this?
You got several actually. ESTP,
I don't know what he
then you
wants
got
me to do.
E, N, T, then you have a E, N, E, F.
That's down here too.
So you've got like 4 different ones there. Yeah, that's crazy. I've never seen it come out like that.
Four.
That's funny.
All over the place.
So you got a big tube, top tube.
Yeah, that's the top score here.
Mine said I'm not a.
So they had handed this out at Amlock, and I actually wanted to take it back to my flotilla and have the members go through it, just because I thought it was interesting. So I was a INTJ.
Yeah.
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 So you're skeptical, critical, independent, determined, and often stubborn. My wife said, yes, that's very true. So possible career as a business analyst, environmental planner, lawyer, reporter, engineer, or scientist. So I do like to study different issues as a process engineer. So what were some of the other ones you got? The codes. ESTJ. Let's see, what's ESTJ? Realistic, logical, analytical, decisive, and have a natural head for business or mechanics. So did you think that was pretty spot on?
Well, so I just retired as corporate executive in charge of engineering, product management.
All right, how about some other ones?
I got
ISTJ. So you're organized, compulsive, private, trustworthy, and practical. Do you think that's close? Yeah?
Is there like a key that tells you what each letter is by itself?
Yes, at the top, and the analysis interpretation. So the E is extroverted and I is introverted. The S and N is sensing or intuitive. And then the thinking or feeling, T and F, and then perceiving or judging, P or J. So it's interesting, over my time within the civilian side, we'd take these tests to see what our leadership abilities were. So in the original start, I was like considered a coordinator. But at that time, I was actually coordinating a lot of stuff. I wasn't doing much leading. Then later on, as I moved up the ladder, when I took the test again, they said, oh, now you're a manager. So with these here, this is like our core values of our way we perceive and do things. But depending on what leadership position we're put in, sometimes we have to change to meet that leadership challenge. So from the history I got on the leadership competencies was, years ago, the Coast Guard was a little concerned about some of the leaders that were being elected. We were losing membership due to poor leadership, and I'm sure all of us have examples we can think of a poor leader. And so they wanted to put together a program to try and help make better leaders. So Peter Graham, with the training directorate, actually came up with this presentation, and I was really happy he had it because my presentation looked like a kindergartner put it together. So I'm very happy that Peter put this program together. So is there any questions about this analysis? So you feel it's kind of spot on or pretty close? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't agree that I'm an introvert.
You know, it's interesting because I was the same way, but when I thought about it and I talked to my wife, she's like, no, you're an extrovert. But I like to sit back and listen and study and then go and make the decisions. So I guess deep down, I guess I am an introvert, but I become an extrovert if I have to in the leadership positions.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we were talking about here is when you recognize those traits, you can adapt for what you need to get accomplished.
Yeah. And that's what I was kind of talking about when I was taking those tests on the civilian side. Depending on what leadership position I was in, I would change my leadership style to match the challenges I had in that role. And that's the same thing we have to do in the auxiliary. Yeah.
Another thing is the environmental effects. What I've experienced in the past on these tests is, for example, you get up in the morning, you have a lousy breakfast, now a lady, you get a bad phone call. You'll get a different
Yeah,
and thinking.
exactly. So we have to adapt and overcome. So this presentation, since it was to go out, he was going out to the different districts and actually teaching. It gets pretty far down into the weeds. So we're going to talk about the Auxiliary Leadership Development Program. We have the leadership competencies, C schools, and leadership courses. We're also going to go over how to access the information and then the leadership development for the different leadership roles. So it serves two purposes. One was it provides the skill sets for the auxiliaries to lead auxiliaries, and also supports our goal to support member retention by having leaders focused on short-term needs and the long-term goals. So this is a leader-driven program. It's imperative that our elected and appointed auxiliary leaders make it a priority to go through this training. And the success of the program really depends on the active participation of all auxiliary leaders. So, and we're going to provide tools to actively improve the environment within the auxiliary. So they wanted to make it kind of a flexible approach, and it was going to go over 3 different leadership levels: the Fatilla leadership, division, and the district. And if you have any questions, please let me know. So Admiral Fagan said that tomorrow looks different, so will we. We're going to transform our total workforce, sharpen our competitive edge, advance our mission excellent. So that was Admiral Linda Fagan. So within the leadership development program, we start with a focus on the individual member and builds as the members gain experience and increase responsibilities. And there's 5 different stages in leadership development, and we're going to look at each stage. So here you can see a level 1 through 5 on the board. So also, as a process engineer, I use a lot of visual management. So this is a board that actually hangs up in our station. So as someone says they want to do the leadership competencies, we'll actually put their name on the board, and then as they complete each class, they get to go up and put a dot on the board. So Leon, he's just joining. I have another one that said they want to be put in the leadership pipeline, so I'm going to put his name on there, and then as they complete the courses at our Fatilla meeting, they get to go up and put the dot on there. So take a little bit. So of course everyone needs to have the BQ2 training, the APC, the Auxiliary Procedures course, the AFLC, Fatilla Leadership course, Effective Communications with the IS, and then there's a Leadership Competency Level Test 1, and we'll go and show you how to get to those as well. Level 2, this is at a Fatilla level. So level 1 is more just for a member. Level 2 is focused more towards the Fatilla commanders, vice Fatilla commanders, and our Fatilla staff officers. Okay. So under here you'll have the FEMA course, making decisions, developing and managing volunteers, and then they also want you to take OXLAMs. So OXLAMs originally was in OXLAMs A and B. We have a lot of members that weren't able to, they were able to take one class but weren't able to take the other. So they've been developing online classes to try and help with that backlog. So they wanted everyone to have level 2 if they were going to be a Fatilla commander by December 31st of 2025. So the training directorate has been working very hard to make sure that these online classes are available to try and take care of the backlog. Are there any questions about that? And also national branch chiefs are able to dig in.
Level 2 to be a Fatilla commander at the end of 25?
No, they want everybody to take it, but it's not a requirement. So I don't know if that'll change in the future, but the auxiliary has not had well, take the core competencies. When they first rolled those out, those were mandatory. And so we lost members because it was mandatory, so they changed the name to the core competencies rather than a mandatory training. So I'm not sure if they'll come down, be more of a strong want to take the classes, but I don't know if they'll make it mandatory or not. So, all right. But with OXLAMs, they're talking about also combining that into just one class. So it'd be like a 3 or 4 day class at hopefully in person, and then they'd have 6 weeks of online class, but that's still being developed. So I also work for the like I said, I work for the training directorate, and with the member training, sometimes I hear some of the stuff they have in the pipeline. So we also, national branch assistants can take this one. So on level 3, this is directed towards the division commanders, vice division commanders, staff officers, and national division chiefs. And so this year we'd want you to have FEMA course, leadership and influence, and then AMLOC. And that's actually a really good class, AMLOC. So level 4, this is directed at the district chief of staff, DCAP, DSOs, and then the national directors and the deputy directors. So this year you go to ALOC class. And then level 5, district commodores, district chief of staff, and the national directors. So I'll probably never see these classes, but pretty high level there. So kind of a recap is each leadership level builds on a set of courses and or exams, and then we'll look how to access each of these now. So is there any questions? Yeah.
So that last class, don't you actually have to be elected district chief of staff before you can even get into that class?
With level 4 or level 5? Level 5 is by invitation only. Yeah. So somebody had told me that earlier, that they that is an invitation only class. So, all right. Okay. Any questions so far? No. Okay. So here to access, to get into here, of course you have to go into OXData. You need a username and password. And again, I know it's very simple, but he was rolling this out to all the districts. So again, we're going to go into Salesforce, log in. Has everyone logged into OXData? You guys all know how to do that? Okay. I just want to make sure we're all on the same level here. So you can find everything on the auxiliary website. There's a training directorate drop down you can see here from OXData. So this here once you get to land on this page, it has pretty much everything you're going to need. How to get into your BQ2 course, C-schools, information, of course the leadership development, the online testing site, the ICS training. I get a lot of questions about enrollment keys, so you can find the enrollment keys. The thing that's confusing about the enrollment keys is different directorates have different classes, so sometimes you have to hunt a little bit to find what directorate is actually running that class to find the enrollment keys. So I've actually helped a lot of people, not even in the training directorate, try and track down the enrollment keys. So again, remember to log in. So this currently is Farron Petty. She's our director of training right now, and Bill is kind of our backup right now until the elections are over. So, Any questions about this page? No? Okay. So within the leadership competencies, you have different tests you have to take. So level, and you have to have it completed before you can complete that level. So with level 1, you'll have to have completed to level 2, you've had to complete the leadership test for that level. And you kind of build on it as you go up. So with the leadership competencies test, I'm actually working on another project where I'm trying to go through and correct all the wrong answers in our training documentation. So it's called Project Phoenix. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but I've been working on it for 2 years now. And the leadership competencies, I haven't had a chance to go in and correct those, so there are some wrong answers in there. I don't know when I'm going to get to correcting all of those, but it was a little frustrating going through those tests because there are wrong answers. So I'll just give you a heads up right now that there are some wrong answers. So about 3 years ago, my wife would work late, and I'd just get on Oxdata 2 and start reading. And I ran across these leadership competencies, and I ran across these different levels. And at the time, I wasn't planning on being a flotilla commander, but I thought, you know, I'd like to get a little bit more leadership capabilities within the auxiliary. So I actually started going and taking all these on levels and stuff. But within the leadership competencies, so there are different knowledge and skills and expertise that the Coast Guard expects out of its leaders. And there's 28 leadership competencies. And I'm not going to go into depth, but I'll show you where in Oxdata 2 to get in there to read them. So we want to, you know, develop all the members of the Coast Guard family to result in a continuous improvement necessary for us to remain always ready. And there's going to be some overlaps in the competencies. They generally fall within 4 broad categories. So those are leading self, leading others, leading performance and change, and leading the Coast Guard. So under leading self, it's fundamental to successful development as a leader to understand yourself and one's own abilities. So with this kind of assessment here, it kind of goes back to who we are as at our core, and kind of we all bring different values and preferences and viewpoints into our leadership. So, you know, we also want to recognize potential as a member of the Coast Guard Auxiliary with leading self. Then leading others, again, another section. So with leading others, we're trying to work with and influence others to achieve common goals within our organization. So we'll interact in many ways as a flotilla or division commander, officer, etc. We want to build positive professional relationships to build a foundation for our success. And we want to develop the competencies in this category. And it'll hopefully increase our capacity to serve the other team members. Leading performance and change. So we always face challenges in our missions and operations. To meet those challenges, we must apply performance competencies to our duties. And then having these competencies enables the leaders and the auxiliary to perform in the utmost in any situation. And then leading the Coast Guard. So the auxiliary doesn't exist within a vacuum. So as we continue to gain experience within the auxiliary, we have to understand how we fit into the broader picture of the Coast Guard structure, government, and the nation as a whole. And then at the local levels, leaders often develop partnerships with the public and private sector organizations to accomplish their missions. Is there any questions about the competencies? So the leadership competencies appear throughout the process for the leadership development. So within here, you see, you'll select the leadership competencies. Again, don't forget to log in. And this here will bring you to the leadership competencies that I just showed you if you want to do additional study on these. But when you're taking level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, it's all about the leadership competencies. So you'll constantly be referring back to these. So what I would do is I would have a monitor where I'd have the competencies off to the side, and then when I was taking a test, I could refer back to my monitor just to help me take those tests. So you have both of them open and you're constantly going back and forth to take your tests. So to me, it's just easier that way. So again, we're going back to the training site. And there is an exam for each leadership competency. So with the FEMA classes, you have them here. So there's 4 courses altogether spread across the 3 levels. And to access the FEMA sites, again on Training Directorate, you'll go and you'll actually have a drop down that shows the FEMA classes and courses within here. So this page is actually going to open into a different page. And you'll actually have to go in and create a username and password on the FEMA site. Okay. Has everybody had to go in and do this? So a lot of times we have to take 100, 700, 200, 800, ICS 210 for coxswains. Huh? IS 20 for diversity. I didn't know that. That's a good one. Okay. So yeah, so there's a lot of different classes we take, and with the leadership classes, so there's in-person and online classes for the AFLC. Oxlams, they do have them online now, but I like taking the C schools. I like the networking and then talking to different people at the NACON. It's great to get to know people and pass on, just some different things you're trying out. So again, don't forget to log in. Your online learning testing, online classrooms, and the National Testing Center all go from the Training Directorate site. So the leadership classes courses are in the Moodle classroom, and they require an enrollment key. So again, this is where you'll find the enrollment key that I talked about before. So you'll want to go over and look for your corresponding enrollment key that you'll have to log in Moodle. I'm sorry this is so far down in the weeds, but it's very important to kind of show where everything is. So here we go down to the Training Directorate, and we're going to select the Leadership Development Portal, which is here. So again, it talks about the enrollment key. Type in the enrollment key. So we're going to do the APC class. Talking about it. So this is what the classroom will look like. So you'll work down, clicking each one. Some of them are mandatory that you have to take. Others are optional to help give a little bit more background on it. So they're self-paced. You may be asked for some class input in some sessions. When I took AFLC, it was all online. I had instructors every week that would give us homework. We would meet once a week to go over the homework. So there are some where you'll have to actually talk back with the instructors. Is there any questions so far? So within, we have different competencies that we have to do. So there's of course, everybody has to take the BQC modules, ABC, core training, AFC, then the leadership competencies 1 through 5. And that's all taken within Aux Data. So then they have C schools with OXLAM, ZAMLOC, AWLOC, and ASOC. All right. So with the National Training Center, you have to have another unique username and password. You'll go in and select what test you want to take. You usually have 2 to 3 hours to take the test. So again, with these, I'll have the manual open on my monitor, and then I'll have my test down. I found that using Control F, Control Find, a lot of times you can find a keyword that will help you focus within that document to help you with the test as well. Any questions about that? So within each of the competencies, there is additional reading information if you would like it. So within leadership level 1, we have here, there's a lot of information underneath there. So there's a Greenoff Award that kind of gives you information if you want to recommend your flotilla commander or myself for this award. I would appreciate it. Then we have a new member integration plan, auxiliary passport to success, member involvement plan, IDP, flotilla procedures guide, and Oxman. So there's a lot of information underneath here if you want to look at. Level 2, again, more of the same, a lot of information. I like this. I learned a lot from the rules of the order and the flotilla GAR. It really helped. We've been working with our flotilla on succession planning. So with my flotilla, they're like, oh, well, it's your turn to be the flotilla commander. And I was like, okay. But I didn't really like that approach. So I've been trying to work on a pipeline of developing leaders and having them go through the leadership competencies so that we have a proper succession plan. And even at our division level, we're also talking about that succession plan all the time. We wanted a formalized process. So again, with level 3, a lot more information. Level 4. So we're going to look over at the prerequisites. So with here, to complete level 2, you've had to completed the level 1, all the requirements in level 1, pretty logical. Same thing with level 3, you've had to complete everything in level 2, and pretty logical. Yeah.
How did you get the prerequisites off of that last page?
Off the last page,
On your previous page.
where it says prerequisites.
I was following you online and
Oh,
all of a sudden I didn't know how you got to this.
oh, okay. So,
that's-
yeah, this is just talking about the different levels within Aux Data 2 that you can go in if you want additional information.
Level arrow to open up that, expand that square.
Hang on 1 second. This level 5 we're looking at there?
Yeah.
Okay, level 5, wait a minute.
There are some people, such as myself, who've been in a little bit, who have completed level 3, but have not done 1 and 2.
Yes.
You used to be able to do that, you can't do it anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yep. So to get your level 3 completion, you have to go back and do level 1 and level 2. So, yeah. And actually, I know somebody that's at level 4 that still hasn't completed OXLAM's B, because every time they try and go, it gets canceled. You know, so that's why they're trying to keep it into just one class with some online class afterwards.
That was my situation.
Yeah, yeah, we have a huge backlog. Some have A, some have B, so it's,
I did B before A.
what's that?
I
Yep, I actually had some that did the same. So, yeah, so that's why I think it's gonna be better just having it down to just aux lambs and not having the A and B. It'll make it a little bit better.
The drawback is you can't get orders twice.
You can't get orders twice?
Yeah, if they make it one class, you can go to two DTRAIN.
Yeah,
do an A
or
and
two, yeah.
different DTRAINs.
Yeah, that's true. Just have to find something else, some other class to go to. Or you can get into the national staff, and do, or production staff or something, to go. All right. You see it okay, Tommy?
I just didn't understand how you got to that. Was that a link from where we were a minute ago?
It might have just been part of it integrated into the slide deck.
Yeah. Because,
It's been a page integrated into the slide deck. Can you write a copy of that slide deck?
yeah, if you guys, has everybody signed in? Number one, has everybody signed in? Okay.
And you probably have to log in as a member to see some of that stuff, right? To expand some of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think everybody here should be able to get to wherever was
Yeah, I
on
think
there.
the one that, the title page prerequisites, which just.
Yeah, I think that's what I think it was. So. So, if you ask why they're prerequisites, so leadership development is a building block process, and we gain both experience and knowledge by following a logical pathway. So I wanted to show you guys another, and actually, Tony said he kind of has the same thing. Wait for this to come out. So along with the, oh, it's not projecting. Hey, Patrick. I have an Excel file up. How do I cast it here to the, it should be coming up, shouldn't it? Or do I need to close the PowerPoint?
Close PowerPoint.
Okay. So at our station, we have we're a static, we're there all the time. So I actually, on the wall, I have this skills matrix on the wall. Kind of the same thing with this here. As everyone gets their different qualifications, they can go up and add a green dot to it. So I just recently added one for mentors. So like Anita Daniel, Steve Daniel, myself, and so this is my Vice Flotilla Commander, Chris. So when we first joined, there was no mentors in our flotilla, and I joined right about COVID, and the guy that was in HR, the links wouldn't work on the paper he gave me, and he said, well, those are the links, you just gotta follow them. So I really struggled and had to go through and kind of learn a lot of it myself. And Chris was kind of the same way, and he and I would get together and try and help each other navigate through Oxdata 2 and the other, 1.5 million passwords you have to get through everything. So we kind of decided that we were going to start mentoring other people in our flotilla. So then we said, if we're going to mentor other people in our flotilla, I think it's good that, we pretty much master everything within the flotilla, all the offices, so that we could speak intelligently on how to become a TCO, how to do, the BE. So eventually we went for boat crew, we both got coxswain, so now we're starting to try and rebuild the operations within our flotilla. But a lot of it has been focused on also getting a leadership pipeline in place and having them go through the leadership competencies so that we have good leaders for the flotilla. So it's been we've been actually having other people transfer from other flotillas to ours because they want to be active and their flotilla is just not active. I think it's good to have the visual management to kind of show where everyone is. It's helped out a lot. So that is all I have. I'm sorry that was really down in the weeds. Is there any questions, any comments?
You have this presentation.
Yeah, if you'll, I can give you my email address if you'll email me.
Okay.
ROMOKramer@gmail.com. ROMOKramer@gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can send the presentation out to you, and if you want, I can send you a copy of the visual management if it's something you guys would be interested to take back to your flotilla as well.
Yep.
But yeah, it's the first time I've given the presentation, so I wasn't sure how long it would take. So,
It's good though.
yeah, I'm good. I hope it was informative.
Yes.
Also, I also have a cheat sheet I was going to go through. I made this up for you guys to help sign off as you do each level and classes. Hopefully it'll help you get through it.
Roger, while you're passing those out,